Are you ready to get the support you need for your author career and life? Join international indie bestseller Angela J. Ford and fantasy author Stephanie Wabwa as they talk all things writing, publishing, and the real life of an indie author. Welcome to the Indie Author Lifestyle Show. Living your best indie life starts here.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Indie Author Lifestyle Show. We are back with another episode, and this week our topic is list building. So before we dig into that, Stephanie, how is writing going for you? How are your goals coming along for 2020?
Hey Angela, another week back on the episode on the podcast. Just excited about that. So for me, keeping it simple, I am in editing mode. So my short story, it is no longer a short story. It has morphed into what I call a novelette. So it's not long enough to be a novella. It's just not that long. However, it is far too long to be called a short story. So it is a novelette, and I'm actually okay with that. We're fantasy writers, and we tend to like to have more in the story. And when I was going through the short and I'm editing, I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'm leaving out a lot of key details that I actually need here. And it wasn't like, oh, I just wanted to add it for the fun of it. It was like, no, I need to have this information in here. So I ended up lengthening it through editing, but I'm okay with that. So I'm currently just focused on editing that novelette. I do want to have that done probably by week's end so that I can get it out to betas as I work on its cover, just because I do want to get this story out so that way it kicks off this 2020 and then people can start to get ready for the series as the novellas and then the books start rolling out. So I'm really excited about that. What about you? What are you working on?
Oh, excellent. That is exciting. I am also deep into editing. I am actually not working on self edits, though. I did get a massive edit of Pawn, first book in the Night of the Dark Face series, back from my editor over Christmas. And so I am going through that. I actually have 4 pages left. So after we hop off here, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up and send it back to her so that she can do a final proofread. So I'm really excited about that because after this, the book will get out to my ARC team, and I can't wait to hear what they think about it. So, and I kind of use my editor more as my beta reader to give me kind of feedback about it. And so she had some recommendations around like the characters and kind of strengthening them, and then also like adding some additional chapters in. And so I used her instead of a beta reader. Well, I mean, I did have one beta reader who gave me feedback. It was pretty much the same thing. So I just really wanted a different opinion from someone who had never read my work before. And I definitely got it. And it was very encouraging, very exciting. I love that she said that she got distracted reading the story. So she had to remind herself to go back and edit it. That's good news. So it's been really fun. And I'm really excited to get it out into the world. But that's about it. And I guess we can jump into our hot topic about list building for indie authors, which I'm really excited about. And so I know you mentioned earlier your novelette that you're working on. And so did you start out working on that with the intent of using it as a reader magnet? Or do you have a different strategy where it comes to it?
Love that question. So yes, I did. I think as career authors, honestly, everything we do has to be strategic. I mean, I suppose in another world, yeah, you'd love the balance of like just writing for the sake of writing and then also writing for the sake of you're going to publish it, market it, and have it be profitable. For me, all of the stories thus far are strategically planned. So this novelette is what we call our freemium, right? And so it will be free. Well, so on my website, it'll be free if you opt in to my newsletter to get it. That's my main strategy as far as like building my newsletter, because it is a gateway into the story, but it's also really revelatory of my writing style and also the style of the stories that will be written. And so readers, when they opt in, they'll have just a very clear view. It won't be something like from left field or something that they read this magnet and then I publish a book and they're like, oh wait, this is like completely different. Like I don't I wouldn't foresee this in you as an author, right? So there's many different intentions for it, but I did purpose that to be a target, to be my lead magnet. Now granted, I will have it on Amazon for like $3.99 probably. So because there will always be people who don't want to opt into your newsletter, and that's perfectly fine. They want to read your stories, they don't want to be on your newsletter because they just hate email. Totally cool. So it will be on Amazon. However, if people want to read it for free, they can opt into my newsletter to get it. So I did do that strategically to build my list and to also build a specific audience. I do want to build a YA epic fantasy reading audience. That's very strategic. However, those are, that's what I'm looking for, because when I do plan to rank on in Amazon, that's what I'm going to be looking for, right? Like those are the categories that I'll be in. And so young adult epic fantasy is also like the trigger. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's going to build the list. It's going to curate the right audience for my readership. And it's also going to introduce these readers to my writing style and already start to like get them to be loyal to my work.
Oh, two very smart things that you said there. And I think it's great to have a reader magnet. There are a bunch of different names. People call them freemiums, lead magnets, just however, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's really smart to have something to give to readers so that they can figure out whether or not they like your writing style. And I know that there on Amazon, you can download a sample of books and read it, but there's just something about knowing that you're getting something from an author that's for free, that you can just dig in and read it. And readers love it. It's a popular method, and I think it's such a popular method because it works. And I actually spent a lot of time kind of holding off on the whole reader magnet thing because I wasn't sure. I just really didn't want to pour my heart and soul into writing a story that I would give away for free. And it's something that I definitely should have done sooner, because once I did, it was so much fun. It took next to no time at all to write it. And I think my reader magnet, it's called Citrine's Monsters, is about 8K. So it's not that long. It didn't take that long to put it together and get it out there. And readers really appreciated it. I even sent it to my newsletter and just said, hey, here's your gift. Like, you're just on my list and I just want you to have a free story from me. And they loved it. And so it's a great way to build your audience. And then I also like that you're being very targeted with your approach. And I think this is a huge takeaway for our listeners, is that you need to know who your audience is. And Stephanie,
Mm-hmm.
clearly, like young adult fantasy, that is your audience. Those are the people you're going to target. You're going to go hang out where those people hang out. You're going to promote that reader magnet where those people are hanging out already. And you might even do newsletter swaps with other authors that you know that write young adult fantasy. And so I think that's really important to know that. And number one takeaway before you begin list building, write out your reader magnet and then also know your target audience.
Yeah, no, totally. Probably because I think these are just things that you learn as you do it again and again, right? So the first time I published, didn't do any of that. And in hindsight, probably not the wisest move. However, it did teach me a lot. And so after I published without really doing much of anything, to be honest, and the books flopped, they were good stories. Don't get me wrong. The people who read it, they loved it. They wanted more, but it didn't go anywhere. Nobody knew about it. And it also could have been better because, I didn't use betas, all that stuff. We could talk about another episode. But so after that, I learned, I was like, okay, no, you've got to market this. You've got to get it out there, and you have to be specific to who you're getting it out to. Not every reader is for you, and that's okay. Not every reader will like your stories. That's okay. However, there is an audience out there for you. And if you guys listen to episode 13, where we talked with Elise Kova, she shared a lot about her marketing strategies. And one of the things that she really drilled on was like knowing her audience and knowing that there is this group of people that you can write a story for. Yes, you're writing the story that you want to read. That is incredibly important. If you don't want to read your book, no one else is going to read your book. Okay. If you're just writing to make money, that's not going to get you far. But if you're smart and you write the book that you love and you also read books like the book that you love and they're similar, you understand, oh, there's a readership out there. And so as you write these stories, you begin to create different kinds of leader magnets or freemiums so that people can enjoy them. And they're small tokens, you know what I mean? You're like Angela mentioned, her short story was about 8K. This one is looking like currently it's around 16 or 17K, maybe shorter, maybe longer. It is a novelette. However, because we're long-winded writers, that's like a small story for us, and we're perfectly fine with writing that, giving it away for free, allowing readers to enjoy that. Because also for our listeners, it's a give and take, right? You give this freemium, in return, not only they're giving you their email, but eventually they're going to give you their trust and their loyalty and eventually their money. And then if they really still like you by that point, they'll turn into evangelists for your work. So you're doing one thing that has all of these different returns from it. So for me, yeah, I think it's just really wise. You know who you're writing to, you create it, and as you build your list, you're also basically building up this personal army for you, where at one point you may not even need ads because you'll just have so many people sharing your work because they love it, all from something they got for free.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that's just a fun way. It's a great way to grow your list. And I want to dig into some of the mechanics and kind of the more technical or kind of, I guess, more of the marketing side of the list building. And we have some questions from our community that I definitely want to dig into. Um, Question from both Melissa and Katie. They asked about list building and how do you get people on your list.
Mm.
And so what they've done is they've started, but they've kind of got to a stopping point where, after you've told your friends and family, you posted on Instagram, you posted on Facebook, what do you do next to grow your email list? And Stephanie, I'd love to hear if you have any suggestions or solutions for that. And then I can also chat about strategy as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I know, so there are two different ways, right? There's the free way, there's the paid way. So the free way, once you've expended social media, which is like the modern day way of like drowning people with what you have going on, right? And so no shade or tea to my brethren in the author community who do that. Social media is like the one playground everybody goes to, like, hey, I have something, join my list, right? Once you've done all that and it doesn't work, I think you have to get to a point where you start to go out and reach into different audiences. And so that can be with newsletter swaps. You swap with authors in your genre. Be very wise when you do this thing. Don't write, epic fantasy and you're out here swapping with, erotica romance authors. Like, that's just not going to work. You need nothing against them. Hey, do you. However, you need to swap with people that are in your genre. It's just wise. They promote you, you promote them to your list, and you can get new readership like that. If you have them send their readers to a landing page, and if you have a free story or something else like that, or maybe you have artwork they can opt in to see, or maybe if they opt in they'll be able to get the map of your world. It doesn't have to be a story. It can be anything that is creative, that is about your world, about your stories, that will give them a hint of what they're to be expect from you. Okay, because you're also giving them a promise. If you opt in, I'm going to give you value, right? So you can swap with other people. You can get on podcasts with in different writing communities where you can reach that audience. Hey, I can talk about this. This is what I have going on. Would you mind, having me on your podcast for an interview? A lot of people, if you email them, you're polite about it, you learn about what they do, you learn about their audience, they'll say yes. Sure, I'd love to have you on the podcast. We can talk about X, Y, and Z, and you can promote your story that kind of way. Or if guest posting is still a thing, so getting on writer's life or anything like that, and you can, if you're able to get a guest post on that, so that's a way to do it. Also, if you already published work, you can put information about your freemium in the back of your novel. Some authors also stick it in the front. Some authors do both because they're like, if you skip the front, you'll get it in the back. If you don't go to the back, you'll get it in the front. So I have, honestly, traditional authors do that. They have all of this promotion in the front and then they have all of this promotion in the back. That's a lesson right there. So you can have stuff like that where you have the information about whatever it is that you're offering and then the link to where they can go. So now if they're reading the book digitally, iBooks, Kindle, etc., they can just click the link and go there and opt in. Or if it is physical, they just have to go type it up. It's not that big of a deal. They just type up the website, they can get there, they can opt in. So those are many, many ways to get people on your list without exhausting Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Well, first of all, Twitter. I gave up on Twitter because honestly, within like 5 seconds, the tweet dies. Okay, so like I no longer see the effectiveness of Twitter. It's kind of like more of a place where people just talk with intensity. But, yeah, if you've exhausted Facebook, Facebook page, the algorithms keep changing. So Facebook and Instagram, if you've exhausted them and you're not getting anything, those are some suggestions for you. Podcasting, different interviews, guest posting, newsletter swaps, stick it in the back of your book. Maybe even if you have author friends that you're cool with, hey, would you mind putting this in the back of your book? I'll put yours in the back of mine, because that's something else that we can learn from traditional authors. They do that with each other. So Sarah Maas will have like Sabaa Tahir's, books in the back of her novel, and Sabaa will have her books in the back of hers. So they're sharing each other's audiences, which is why sometimes it seems like the worlds are so small because all of these authors, they all know each other and the readers all know them, because they're all very connected. They're, use your community. Like, friends are a good thing, right? So that's the free way, y'all. Paid way, ads. Drop the mic.
No, that is so true, because I've been using, or I've done it on and off. I've used Facebook ads to drive people to my landing page on my website to sign up. And it definitely works. Like, people will click over and they will sign up. And these are people that I don't even know. And sure, I'm paying to get these people on my list. But one of the smart ways to go about that is that when people sign up to my email list, what I do is I automatically redirect them to a thank you page. I think it's actually more of a welcome page. And I tell them, like, it's great that you're about to start reading my very first book, or the prequel in the series, but you can actually go ahead and get the first 3 books in the series. Go ahead and, snatch them up right here. And so that's one way to kind of combat the fact that I just paid for subscribers, going ahead and upselling them immediately. So hopefully that I make some money off of them. And so I've tried that on and off to see how that works. Right now I have a different ad campaign running, so I'm not doing that right now, but it's definitely something that I would do. I don't mind paying for it and getting the people to go ahead and buy my book as soon as they sign up, because they're going to like it. I know they are. Because I'm targeting the right people.
Exactly.
So that's definitely one way to do it. And then also, I haven't tried to do those ads on Instagram, but that's something that, now that we're talking about it, I think I should do that, because Instagram does have a lot of readers on it. And I think it's one of the overlooked platforms where it comes to running ads. Everyone talks a lot about Facebook ads and Amazon ads and BookBub ads, but Instagram is where it's at. Like, I have reviews on my books where someone was like, I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw this, and I know it's because of an ad that I was running, not posting on Instagram and seeing it die. But actually from the ads, because the ads keep being shown over and over again to these people, and that's really effective. So that's definitely one way that I like to run to get people into my email list. And also, it's less work. And I'm all about things that are less active work and more passive, where I can just like check in like every week or every other week and go, ooh, let me make sure this ad is still doing good. And one of the things I do love about running Facebook/Instagram ads is that you can set a budget cap. And so if you have $50 that you are going to spend for the month, you can set your cap and say, do not exceed my budget of $50. And there you are right there. You don't have to go back and make sure your money didn't disappear and you aren't spending like $2,000 or something. You just set your limit. And that is really helpful too, because I have limits for different book series, and I like to set those limits and then let it run so that I don't have to stress out and worry about it, because I know it's only going to spend that, no more than $200 on this campaign. And that's good to know. And then the other way that I also like to do list building is through both Story Origin and Book Funnel. And we'll include the links to these in the show notes. The show notes are over at indieauthorlifestyle.com/014. This is episode 14. And I like using those because what you can do is upload your reader magnet, and then you can ask people to either do newsletter swaps. And so that's a good way. If you don't already know authors in your genre, that's a good way to connect with them and find them. And so Story Origin does the newsletter swaps. You can do your reader magnet swap with other authors, and it does allow you to accept or kind of ignore the requests that come in. So if someone sends you a message and they want to swap with you and they're not a good fit, you can just shoot them a message and say, hey, I rejected it because, it's just not the right fit for my audience. I'm looking more for epic fantasy and you have paranormal romance and it's not going to mesh very well. Or I know that my story is not going to do well with your readers because they're looking for something else. And so just be honest about that and just be upfront about it. It's totally okay. Not everything is going to be a perfect match for your newsletter, and your books won't be a perfect match for other people's newsletters. And then the other way to do it is by joining joint promotions where a bunch of authors, there'll be different promotions that run, and usually they are about a week or sometimes a month long, where you give away free books. They're about anywhere from like, I don't know, 20 to 100 authors. The ones with 100 authors are a little overwhelming, but all your books are listed on a page. You share the link with readers, and readers can just kind of look at the covers and they opt in for the books that they think look interesting. And so doing it that way is also really helpful for list building, but also is really cool because people are looking at kind of the covers and picking something that resonates with them. So that is another reason why you want to have a cover that is gorgeous and really resonates with your genre, because when you're doing promotions like that, people are kind of, they really don't have too much to go off of besides the cover. And so if they see a gorgeous cover, they're going to be like, that one, I want to know more about this. And it's in a genre they like. So once they click on it, then they can get the full details in the description and go ahead and join your email list. Well, those are some other ways. And Story Origin is free. Book Funnel cost a little bit a month, nothing too insane, but they both integrate with popular email marketing services. And so I would highly recommend that route, just as an easy way to focus on growing your email list and getting it to the next level. And just to give you an idea, when I was really hardcore, like doing promos all of the time, I was getting somewhere around 1,000 subscribers a month, which was pretty crazy. Like I thought that could never happen to me, and then it happened. I was like, oh, this works. And so that was awesome. Yeah, so those are kind of the ways to kind of get past being stuck with the friends and family, using those different methods to really focus on that list building and reaching those people that love that genre but maybe haven't heard of you yet. And
Yeah.
then
And I even
okay.
heard like so I've not tried it yet, but I may consider it, to be honest, because at the end of the day, it's about visibility, right? And Elise made a good point. If you're not with a publishing house, especially a large publishing house, it's hard out here, like for authors. So you got to do what you've got to do. And so if you're able to save up the money and budget it out, you can even buy a magazine spread. Like you Google these big magazines. Listen, you think people got in there because they're cute and they knew somebody and they got in there. No, they emailed them and they said, listen, I have this going on. I'm able to do this for you. This is the kind of reach that I have. This is the kind of benefit that it would be for you. and I'm willing to pay. And if you're willing to pay, they will put you on. You could literally buy your way onto a magazine cover, you know? So, and so it just depends on your budget. It just depends on how far you'd like to go. You can buy a magazine spread, and in it, it could be about you, and it could be about your book, about your stories, and you have a link in there. I mean, imagine how many subscribers you would have if you said, okay, I'm gonna budget, I don't know, 1 grand, right? And I pitch 2 3 magazines. I get into 1 or 2. You get a spread in there for that month. Imagine the return you would have, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money for the spread. But then you have what, several thousand people join your list and they buy your books at full price. That more than doubles, if not triples, your ROI, right? So it's just one of those things where you weigh the pros and the cons. If you're just starting, we just gave you a plethora of free resources. But if you're stuck, you're like, I've been going at this for a while, I've exhausted all of my resources, pay to play, friend. Pay to play. Budget your money, pay up, and you will stretch out your audience.
Oh, yes. So true. That's a really cool way to go about it. And I like the idea of taking risks. I feel like that's something that we don't do enough because you're counting pennies and trying to play it safe. But to be a business owner, you do have to take a degree of risk. And so, I've definitely done some things where I've spent hundreds of dollars and didn't see that return. And then I've done some things where I spent hundreds of dollars and I saw that return. I think the scariest thing I ever did was spending $100 a day on Amazon for like 30 days. That was a risk. I was like, I hope this works. Stuff like that. Sometimes you just gotta go for it.
I mean, you really just got to do it. Like we're talking about finding people. Yeah, there are 7.5 billion people, but they won't know who we are until we show up in their faces again and again and again. Like there is an author, I know, Angela, you know her name. I will butcher her last name. I apologize in advance. Sarah C. Raffo? Raffo?
Oh
Raffo?
no, but I know her. She's amazing. She wrote Age of Trees, that whole series.
That entire series. And for those of you that are like, oh, let me Google her, SARACROETHLE, Sarah Raffel. We're just going to go with that, right? So I don't know her, but I know the woman's name. Why? Because her ads are in my face. I binge bought her series because it was in my face so much that I couldn't. My brain was like, well, why haven't you bought this yet? Like it literally got to that point in my mind where I was like, because I saw her ads every single day on Facebook. And then all of a sudden I started seeing her ads every day on Instagram. And I was like, girl, you are doing the thing. And it got to the point where I opted into her email list. I got in her newsletter. I bought all of her books. I followed her on I followed her on Amazon. I started snatching up because that's the power of it, right? Like once you get in the people's faces often enough and you stay there, they'll just buy everything and they'll opt into your list. So that is also the effectiveness of it. Just whether you're doing ads or whether you have people talking about you, because I know people shared her stuff. Like every time I would read the email, because I'm that person, I read the entire email and I scroll all the way to the bottom. So I would scroll to the bottom of these authors' emails and her books were always in their stuff. And I was like, so everyone, you've written all of the books, you're everywhere. So why don't I know you? And that's how I got into her audience. And so if you're wanting to have that, to have that press, you just got to do the work. Get into people's faces, do ads, and do ads, do newsletter swaps, get into other people's audiences, and you will build your newsletter.
Which brings me to our next point, and you hinted on this a little bit already, is once you have people on your email list, what do you do with them? How do you keep them? How do you turn them into readers? What do you even talk about and say to keep them engaged and excited? And I know both you and I have some really cool strategies about this. And you said, with Sarah, you were reading the emails, like all the emails that come in, you read them to the bottom. And so I'm going to let you talk about it, but I just want to say one thing that I did to help me figure out how to craft more engaging newsletters was that I went to the different promotions that I was in on BookFunnel and Story Origin. And I actually downloaded books that I thought looked interesting. And I got on those authors' emails lists and I read their emails to see what they were doing, to see what I liked and what I didn't like. And so that's my first step on helping. But Stephanie, I'd love to hear more suggestions that you have. So take it away.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that is actually something that I do. I think we have to get beyond this whole, or I'm trying to do something original. There's nothing new under the sun. Okay. We have a community for a reason, to learn from each other. And so I did the same thing. I opted into email after email after email, especially if they're friends. Like some people I know, and I'm like, why am I not on your email list? That is terrible of me. But, but I opted in and I read. I watched how they onboarded new readers. I watched how they talked about the story before they gave you the link to download it for free so you can read. I watched how long, how many days went by before they emailed me again. I watched what they sent me, what they put. And through doing that, I basically built a template for myself. And so one thing that I know, for me, you also, as an author, you have to know what keeps your engagement, because chances are it'll probably catch your readers. And so I know for me, when I'm reading an email, I like to have that personal touch from the author. So a lot of authors that I'm on their list, and I do this as well, we open up with a little bit of information, from our own worlds. Hey, what's up? I've been working on this. So for example, I'll be personal, right? I live in Maryland. So I would start off an email. Hey, what's up? It's been cold. I'm in the house. I refuse to go out. I'm freezing. I don't want to do anything. Like it's as if you're sitting with the person, because I speak to my readers as if it's just them and I sitting over coffee. Because with depending on which email service that you use, you can put in these little, and you don't have to come up with anything, you just click a button and it shows up. But you can put in these little codes where like it'll populate their name when they read the email. So it's as if you're saying, hey Angela, what's up? I was avoiding the cold all weekend by staying inside and drinking cider. And so when I do that, it's automatically personal, and I pretend that I'm having a conversation with that reader. So it automatically makes it a bit more intimate, and they feel like they're having a conversation with just me. Like I've literally had readers email me and say, I know that you sent this to thousands, but like it feels like you're talking to me. So here's my feedback. And so, and it's very effective, because people like to know that you're not talking to a million people, you're talking to them. And so, I start off with something personal, and then I go into what I'm writing. And so right now I do have the episodic story going on. So after I have, my little, yep, I've been doing this, catching up on this, I went to go see this show, or, we went to, my significant other and I, we went to a park and we walked around, whatever. After you give a cute, little synopsis, I guess, of what you've been going on in your personal world, I break that, and I literally just add in a line, and then I go into another section. And that's where I'll say, so you guys remember last time we talked about character so and so, she was blah, 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 and you had to vote. Well, now this is what you all chose. The majority of you chose this situation. So here's the next episode. They read it, and then what I do, because I want to keep engagement with my readers, I don't want them to go through, read it, and then move about their day. I want you to talk back to me. So I put in my emails after that episodic story, I say, click reply and let me know your vote. So that then gives them a call to action to respond to me, the author, and that builds our relationship between author and reader, no matter where they are. And so they read through it, they click, they're like, oh, okay. And they respond to the email. After that, then I will go into, some periods I'll do it, some periods I won't. Sometimes I'll share a little clip I'll go into the next section where I share a little clip of the work in progress that I'm working on. And so it'll be like just a few sentences, or sometimes even a long paragraph of the scene of a scene from my current story, which kind of like lets them in on, oh, this is what she just wrote. So it makes them feel like they're going along the journey with me as I write this story. And then I go into another. So these emails are long. Okay. You'll find that most authors' emails are a little bit lengthy, just because there's different parts to it. which readers dig into. We love it. You know, we're getting to learn about the author, especially if the author only emails once a month. And so after that, I'll go into what I recommend for readers to read. So sometimes that'll be a book that I'm promoting for another author and they're going to promote me, or sometimes it's out of just the goodness of my heart. I loved the story. I thought it was awesome. You should read it too. And so I will put it in there. Now, I will say I am an affiliate with Amazon, so if they buy the book, I got a commission. But but I have that, and then of course the rest of it is just typical email footer stuff. A little bit of information about me if they've never seen me before, or if they literally forgot, even though I emailed them last week. So it's my face, because I found that sometimes I can get disconnected from the author if they don't have a photo down there, because then I'm like, what do you even look like? Who are you? And so I have a photo down there, and after years of doing newsletters, I realized that's important to me, is to have a face, a little bit of information about me, and then links, website, social media. Because something else I found was I did not like when I scrolled to the bottom of an email and I had no idea how to get to that author's website. I was like, why do you not have a link down there? Who are you? Because they wouldn't have their picture and they wouldn't have a link. And I would forget how I got on their newsletter, and I would forget who they are. And I'd be like, yo, who are you? I don't even know how to get to your site, fam. What are you doing? So, and then I would unsubscribe because I was like, well, I don't know who you are, so I'm not staying here. But so I will say there's so many ways to do it, but presently that is the current way I'm doing it. We could do a master class, honestly, on how to like structure and send out emails and what to do. But as a brief overview for our listeners, that's how that goes. Personal, something engaging, a little bit about your story. Then you can move on into the promotional stuff, shameless, and promoting others' work. And then you can go into the shameless plug section, where you should, in every single email, have your work at the bottom of every single email, all your books, the links to it. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm promoting so much. I'm sorry. Does Barnes and Noble care that they blow up your email every single day with 25 different books in it? I don't think so. So if they don't care, neither should you. All right. You should have your books at the bottom of every single email, so that, because you never know which email it will be that the reader will say, oh, I haven't read that book yet. They'll click it, they buy it, they read it. So that is how I approach it. What about you?
Goodness, I think we're done. I think we can just call this a day and just be done, because that was so good. That was everything. No, I actually do something very similar. And I will say there were just so many good nuggets you had in there. But one of the things that I do that really is helpful, and that is it, if I don't do it, I'm just leaving money on the table. But I get sales from a newsletter every time I send it out. And I send mine every single week, just because I realize that people enjoy hearing from me. And yes, I get maybe one, sometimes two unsubscribers, but for the most part, people stay on the list. Like, they want to hear from me that much, which is a little crazy to me, but it's pretty awesome. But I definitely include the list of all of my books at the very bottom of my email, because people click on that and they go buy them.
They do.
I don't know why. Like, some people, they've been on the list for like years, and they're just now clicking, going to buy. I'm like, okay, I thought everyone had this book. Okay, I guess not. Or another thing I'll do is the quotes are really powerful. I think the thing about kind of quoting from your own book is people don't realize what they're missing because they haven't read it, or they've forgotten about it. I think one of the things that authors do, that the number one mistakes that authors do, is that they only promote a book during launch week. They release that book, they launch it really hard, they promote it really, really hard, and then they forget about it. But if you're always, you're taking the tips that we talked about earlier, and you're growing your email list, you're going to have an influx of new people on your list all the time, and they weren't on your list when you launched that book. And maybe they know about it, but they don't have that call to action to buy it. So I like to feature books again and kind of do a quote from those books and then have that call to action. Hey, go ahead and buy it. Or if I'm having a sell on a book, I'll feature that one again and people will go buy it. Like there was one book, it was the second book in a series, and I had not talked about it for a long time. And then I did a little picture of it. I did a little quote from it, and people went crazy. They went and bought it like mad. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was my second book. How did you not have this? But it's just really helpful to do that. And then like you said, the personal note, one of my favorite things that I really like to that you do is just sharing what I'm currently reading, what I'm currently writing, and then what I'm currently watching. And people respond to that. They write me back and tell me. And there are two reasons to get people to write back to you. Number one is that is you're getting that engagement. It's really fun. So make sure that you're asking questions to your fans and asking them to hit reply, because that also marks them as that marks your email as a safe sender. And so your email is more likely to get into their inbox and less likely to get into spam or junk mail or that promotions folder. And so you definitely want people to respond to you. And one thing that I did, I have a little mini onboarding sequence. And what that is when people first sign up into my email list, they don't go onto the main list, they go into like my welcome series, which is a total of, I think it's just like 2 emails. It's super short. Well, the first one is like, hey, welcome. Thanks for downloading the book. This is who I am, a little bit about me. I used to have a quiz that people could take, and it was about the 5 warriors. And so I'd ask them, which warrior did you get? Just hit reply and let me know. But I still always have like something where I ask them, hey, hit reply and let me know what you thought about this. And so I think that's really helpful because that gives you a chance to kind of get out in front and introduce yourself and get personal and write a letter. Write a letter to your readers like you're writing it to your friend. Just be yourself, just be fun and approachable and engaging, and you are a writer. So it should be something you can write a letter. Let's pretend you're talking to your best friend and you're just sharing some fun things and just introducing yourself like that. That is really all that it takes. And it can be super simple. It doesn't have to be the longest thing in the world, and it can be short. Like some of my emails, some of my onboarding emails are just super short because I didn't have the time to rewrite them over and over again. And also, I hop from email service providers like a crazy person. And so I'm always redoing my onboarding sequences, mad, but it's okay. But yeah, so those are some of the ways just to be more engaging and fun and personable is just talk to your email list like you're just talking to one person, your best friend. And it just makes it more helpful. But I think you really had that great template for marking it down, the personal stuff, the engaging stuff, the call to action. Really, really big on the call to action and making sure that you include that photo at the end and your social media links so that people can find you. And then I also do a short bio, just kind of just giving some credibility to my stuff, just telling people, hey, like this is the status, these are how many books I've sold, and some ballpark figures so that they know that this is not a joke. This is for real, and you can go get my stuff and people enjoy it. So that that really is it. And
Yeah,
I
no.
think those are all the questions we had for people. So I guess if you have anything else, Stephanie, now is your chance to share it.
Yeah, no. Honestly, it's just conversations. Like that's what a newsletter is. If you feel like it's freaking you out, you don't know what you're going to do. Oh my gosh, I'm emailing all of these people, all of the breathe, relax. It's just a conversation. It's not a blog post. It's not a podcast interview. It's not, some master class or a course you're teaching. You're literally just saying, hey, this week was a bad writing week. I was sick. My husband, blah, blah, blah. My kids, blah, blah, blah. My job, blah, blah, blah. However, I did write about this. I recognize this about my characters, yada, yada, yada. That's it. Like, it's just having conversations with people. That way, the whole point is you build these relationships with readers because I mean, yeah, we sell in our newsletters, soft sell. You just stick the picture in there, and every email, if they click on it, they buy it. Awesome. It's not like it's a hardcore sell where the whole email is about, hey, I want you to buy this thing, right? And we do that because through time, once you've built that relationship and these people know you, then when you have something, it's like, they're not even questioning snatching the thing up. It makes sense to buy it, because they know who you are. They've heard from you. They know what you've got going on. They've been expecting this for a long time. And so they expect to help you. And so all you're doing is you're making friends. You're making friends. You're building relationships, on I believe one of the episodes. It was probably not on the live interview, but when we were talking to author Alicia Calpeak, she shared about how one reader, they actually created this like embroidered, it was like
It was a
a
cross stitch, I think. I think it was cross stitch.
cross stitch. And I mean, they made that for her and they sent it to her, and she almost had tears in her eyes when she was sharing it with us, because it's like, that's what you're building. You're building relationships. I mean, they read your work, they love it, but then there comes a point where you move past that. You start to know their names as they know you, and you build these relationships, and next thing you know, you're getting gifts, and you're learning about their lives, and you're learning that their kids love your stories too. Their families, their brothers and their sisters love your stories because they told everybody to read your work. And so um that's the whole point of this. It's not just, oh, let me build up, let me have 25,000 people that I can just keep selling to. Like, you're not building a list of numbers. You're building an audience of friends. That's what you're doing. You're building an audience of friends. And so if you treat it that way, it takes the pressure off, because then you realize, oh, every Monday I'm just having another conversation. We're just continuing our chat over coffee or tea, if you people are weird like that. JK.
No, that makes so much sense. And I will say one other thing is that unsubscribers, my advice is don't even worry about them. Like, don't even worry about it. I used to be so stressed about them, and every time someone would unsubscribe, it'd be like a dagger to the heart and just, drama. But like, it just doesn't matter, because the fact that someone is unsubscribing, that means that they were never going to buy from you anyway. And so they were just going to be dead weight on your email list. And, it costs to have an email list. I use MailerLite, and it costs about $50 a month to keep that up, because I have so many people on my list. So when people unsubscribe, I'm like, thank goodness, like maybe now my pricing can go down a little bit. So don't stress out about that at all. And I would recommend using MailerLite just because it is inexpensive, but then also it is one of the best. It's just a lot easier because they have a template builder, and it's just so much easier if you want to put your pictures in there and just different quotes, and you want to do different fun things with your newsletter. I would just recommend that one. So that would be my recommendation, but obviously you can use anything you please to use.
Yeah, no, for sure. So guys, don't let list building stress you out. Don't think you're at the end of the road because, oh, I'm running out of options. Social media is no longer working. People were building their lists before there was social media. What? Truth. Okay. People were list building before there was social media. And if it all goes kaput, they will be list building after. So if you have exhausted Facebook, you've exhausted Instagram, you don't even bother with Twitter, there are many, many different ways for you to continually keep building your list, keep building relationships in the community, and then also just creating a readership that will absolutely love your stories, because I'm pretty sure whatever it is you're writing, there is a readership out there for you.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions about list building, or if there's some things that we did not cover, just come across to the show notes and leave us a note, or even better, join the community. We can't wait to meet you. The journey to becoming a full-time author on your own terms doesn't have to be lonely or hard. We have an awesome community where we chat daily, write together, and motivate each other. To be part of this vibrant community of indie authors living their best bookish life on their own terms, go to indieauthorlifestyle.com/inner circle for more information. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love to hear more from you. Leaving a rating or a review helps us to create more great content like this. Be sure to rate this episode and subscribe to the show. Thanks for listening to the Indie Author Lifestyle Show. See you inside the community.